Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of Cory Means Business podcast and YouTube channel. I've got a really special guest, a good buddy of mine, with me today. He's a builder here in Tucson, Arizona. He owns Axios Builders. And I know I'm going to butcher your last name, so I'm going to let you say it. It's a really tough last name. It's a Greek last name, and I don't speak Greek. So it's Steven. What's your last name? How do you pronounce it?
Stratigouleas.
Stratigouleas, all right. It's funny because my phone, when you call, right, it announces you, and it's all, Steven Stratigouleas.
Yeah, I've heard it butchered on
Siri. Yeah. So I just hear that Siri, Stratigouleas, you know. And I'm like, I don't think that's right, Siri. I think you got it. I think you missed that one.
Yeah, she doesn't have the right dialect, you know.
No, she doesn't.
Missing some accents.
Siri does not speak Greek. You heard it here first. That's breaking. That's my soundboard, right? Kind of livens up the show. We're sitting here in the studio by ourselves, so having a soundboard is kind of good. So kind of cool. All right, so. He's a builder, so tell us, tell the audience, this is primarily a business channel. Everybody knows that I get into politics and I get into all kinds of current events and stuff like that, but I still like to, kind of keep it a little businessy so people can learn some stuff as well. So tell us what's going on in the building industry right now. From what I understand, it's pretty hot and heavy.
Well, we're lucky to be in Tucson, Arizona. It's a hot spot. We have a lot of people transferring from California, Seattle, Oregon, coming down to Tucson. And that's creating this huge gap in pricing for the locals. And, I mean, we're just selling houses. Houses are sitting on the market for hours. Real estate agents have gotten really smart now how they're marketing their homes. They'll put a house on the market like on a Wednesday and tell everybody, hey, we're going to accept offers, and we'll review them on Sunday. We'll get back to you on Monday with the offer that we've selected. It's just crazy what's going on, man.
It's like you're having to qualify twice for a house. You got to qualify with the lender, and then you got to qualify with the seller to make sure that you're the right fit for the seller's taste.
So the people who've been making these offers, even the second, third place offer is above asking price,
but still not good enough.
Wow. They'll and cash is king right now. If you have a clean cash offer, close in 14 days, no inspections, no contingencies, that's the winner right now. So you have these people coming from California selling their houses for double, triple what a house sells for here. Wow. And they got the cash. So it's really putting a squeeze on a lot of the local buyers. People want to move up, even the first-time home buyers, Cory. It's been, I see it every day. I see it on MLS. I talk to real estate agents, look at my clients and things they've had to do to buy a house and then improve it. And I'm getting calls from real estate agents saying, hey, so-and-so wants to buy this house, but what's important to them is, they want to see how much a kitchen remodel would be or adding a bathroom or addition, to meet their family needs.
Right.
And, construction costs, everybody knows, are just through the roof. I mean, for example, a 2x4 at Home Depot used to cost like $2.14, say, less than a year ago. Today, that same stick is $8. Jeez. I mean, and I was talking to a good friend of mine who's been a framer. He's been in the lumber business, 35, 40 years. And I asked him, I said, Bob, where are we at right now? Are we plateauing? He goes, I'm getting increases every single day. He says, this is what he told me, because he's quoting a project for me today. And he says, hey, that quote will be just as valid until the ink dries. I can't guarantee that same price in tomorrow. As soon as we sign that contract, it used to be where the lumber guys would be able to write a contract, you sign it, and then you're guaranteed that price. You're not guaranteed that price anymore until you actually take the lumber out of the yard, not when it's sitting there already paid for. It's a crazy phenomenon.
Wow. So even though you paid for it already, that's not the price?
Until it's pulled. And I thought that was very bizarre. I mean, we bid out a project. We got the first bid in January. It was at $96,000. 4 weeks later, we had to rebid it. It was $116,000. When the client was ready to sign, it was $124,000. So you're talking, you know, from $96,000 to $124,000 in about a 7 or 8 week period.
Wow.
It was, I mean, that's like what, 25%? Right around?
Yeah, it's wild. And like you was telling me in the pre-show, we've talked about it. He actually just did a nice remodel for me at my new house. I just bought another house, and the master bedroom and the master bedroom suite wasn't designed right, wasn't designed well for what kind of house it's supposed to be. So I had him redo all that, and yeah, it was did a great job, knocked it out. I mean, for the timing, for what's going on right now, obviously, you know, the timing was great. I think came in a little bit longer than original, but still, for what's going on in the market right now, still did a phenomenal job, and the end result's phenomenal too. I mean, just gorgeous. Now the house is what it was supposed to have been when it was built. So
that master suite it was large, but just chopped up, and you know, the closet space was probably a little too big. Which, I mean, what you'll never hear a female ever say that, right? You know, they're always going to say it's
well, you never
too
heard
small.
me say it either. You know,
Closets are important, but that
right.
thing was it was just eating away into that kind of space. And you know, your house is a prime example, the one you just bought, that you cannot replicate the house that you have for about the price you paid for it.
Oh yeah, no
it's
way.
Impossible.
Yeah.
Impossible.
Well, and again, that's one of the things I want to talk about too, which is another house that I own right now up in Stone Canyon, talking about how houses are selling and stuff like that. So, you know, one of the things that I do, and this is in my book, which is how to invest. One of the things that I love to invest in, people always come to me and they say, you know, what should I invest in? Well, the number one thing you should always invest in is yourself first, right? So your skill set and your know-how is always to be your first investment. You know, it's historically been called education, but I don't call it education per se anymore, because that kind of infers going to the college and university, which for the prices, I don't even recommend doing that anymore. You know, I used to tell everybody, look, you come out of high school, you got two choices. This used to be my old advice. You come out of high school, you got two choices: college or the military. That's it. You know, don't think about anything. There's nothing else, because otherwise you're going to a dead-end job and you're going to be there. But that's no longer my opinion, because college has become so expensive and so difficult to do now that I no longer recommend it, unless you're going for a specific, a job that it's going to get guaranteed.
I agree.
You know, engineer, nursing, medical, something
architecture,
architectural,
teaching.
Engineering, right? Yeah. Exactly. Stuff like that. You know, if you go into it job specific in a hot industry like medical, or, you know, obviously construction, architecture, engineering, definitely I still think it's worth it. I think it's good bang for your buck. The $100,000, you know, for your local state college is going to cost. Our state university is still worth it. Going out of state and racking up $300,000 or $400,000, I don't think that's worth it at all. Other than that, you know, if you're not going for any of those specifics, if you're just going to go get a general degree in business or a general degree in finance, or, you know, like I have 2 degrees, I have 1 degree in planning, one degree in finance. You know, you look at those today, what it would cost, what I paid versus what it would cost. Not even worth it today. No way.
College tuition is a function of the government funding education with low interest loans. And all we've done is just increased college tuition costs because of low money, cheap money.
Right.
And we have, you know, an overeducated population and an underskilled population.
Bingo. I think you just hit the, I couldn't agree more. Overeducated and underskilled, right? They have these degrees and they have this education and they can't do shit.
No,
right?
Can't do shit.
They can't do shit. You have no value to the world. You come out and you can't do anything besides, you know, get on social media and run your mouth on stupid things that you don't even know how it works in the real world. Okay?
Yeah, I've been preaching that to younger generations, right. Saying, look, you know, learn a trade, learn a skill. Because I know plumbers making $150,000 a year, electricians making $150,000, $170,000 a year with a real skill set that they'll have their whole life.
Right.
You know, they didn't go to college. They became journeymen. They worked their way up. They be apprentice, worked their way up. You know, you join the union, get good training, And then once you have the training, you start your own company.
Yep.
I mean, one of my electricians, you know, I don't want to throw him under the bus, but this guy was someone who was in jail for a good portion of his adult life. He learned to become an electrician while he was in jail. Right. There's some training. This guy's got a company now. He's got 7 trucks, 11 employees. He's 5 years out.
Wow.
5 years out of prison.
Right.
He just bought himself a house this week. He's got 5 trucks, 11 employees. All his vehicles are paid for. You know, he's a Christian. He's turned his life to God. He runs a men's group. You know, and I look at him, and I like working with him because he's an inspiration. Right. You know, and he knows his shit. He knows his shit when it comes to, you know, but you look at him and you just see this past life, and a lot of people probably can't get past that. But, you know, America's all built on second chances. Yeah. That's what's so great about this country. Yeah. I mean, everyone has had a second chance, third, fourth chance. Right. But it's what you do and how you better yourself. And he's improving 40, 50 men's lives every week with these sessions he has. And he instills these values onto his employees, you know, and I just love working with the guy because, you know, it's inspirational, and we share a lot of stories, and he helps me with, we have these deep discussions about religion, which I'm passionate about, and sure. You know, and Christianity, but we need more examples like that than people going to college, jumping through some obstacles for 4 or 5 years, racking up, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, and getting a job making $48,000. Right. You know?
And thinking that they're better than everybody else and talking down everybody else about, you know,
they got a piece of paper.
that they're you know, racist and aren't deserving. So going back to, you know, the relevancy of what we were first talking about, which is the housing market. You know, you look at that and you say, okay, yes, you know, one of the spikes in real estate, and it certainly is occurring again right now, which occurred in, you know, the early 2000s and, you know, all the way till the big bust of 2008, which was super low interest rates. Okay. And I'm not against super low interest rates, but at the same time, yes, when you have things that you can finance cheaper, the price is always going to go up because people usually buy on payments.
Yeah, buying power.
Yeah, exactly. The buying power goes up, therefore the money becomes less valuable, therefore the price of whatever it is going to go up. So it's same. That's what happened with college, right? And they've been doing that for a long time now, even throughout the bust, and after. College loans have been really, really cheap, tied to really, really cheap guaranteed government loans, which cheap interest rates that don't even kick in until you're 6 months out of school. And so, of course, the universities, being greedy, because people are naturally greedy, raised their prices knowing that the kids were going to qualify because the university set the prices. The government's going to guarantee the money anyway, no matter what the price is, because they just base it on what the school charges. There's nobody even saying, like, you know, and this is kind of sad the way it works. Nobody even sits there at the government, you know, at the loan program saying, wait a second, this college is charging way too much. We're not going to guarantee that for a bachelor's degree.
There's no checks and balances.
There's no checks and balances. No. So all they do is just say, what's the university charging? The university says, well, we're charging $15,000 a semester. Okay, then the student is approved for this much, $40,000 a year, you know, and the kid racks up $200,000 in student loans to get a degree that's worth like, you know, $30,000 a year coming out of school.
Well, instead of working through college, they're just taking loans out, paying for their lifestyle, and financing it all, but you know, they don't see the reality of it because no one teaches them that $200,000 in debt when you're paying $800-900 a month until you're 50 years old. That's going to affect your buying power for a house. It's going to affect, you know, your credit. There's just so many factors that go into it. And one thing is, these universities are sitting on these billions of dollars in their endowment funds, you know, and they all got PPP money. Yeah. You know, it's like there's, you know, I think Harvard has, I think, like $27 billion in an endowment fund. You know, you just do some simple math at, say, even 5%. And they're making what, $1.5 billion a year just on their endowment.
Right.
You know, it's...
Yeah, it's insane. They make money coming, and then again, you talk about their sports and everything else. And I mean, they basically enslave these kids. And that's that word is charged right now, but that's the reality. They enslave these student athletes, pay them nothing, don't allow them to get a job. They have all these restrictions on where and how they can get money. And they make tons of money off of them, and they give them nothing. And I don't agree with that. They should pay them. They should give them a stipend, to keep the kids focused on school, not having to worry about money, not worrying about their background, where they came from. That'd be a better use of all these billions that these, universities get. They just keep building buildings, and they just keep giving more money to the president of the school. Some of these presidents of these universities are making multi-million-dollar paychecks, and I still can't figure out what they do exactly.
You look at you look at athletics,
right?
And these coaches making $3 million a year, $600,000 a year, and then you have these students who cannot work like other students, like you and I did in college, because they have morning practice, they got film, they got afternoon practice, they got study halls that they're required to go to, whether they study or not. I mean, I was at U of A. I was there, just about the same time you were. I had some of these, athletes who made it to the NBA, but not everyone makes it to the NBA. Right. They had proctors checking in on them, making sure they were in class. You see the door creak open 10 minutes after class. Okay, pop in. Oh, he's here. Okay, check. On to the next. So not everyone's going to fulfill that NBA contract or go to off to the NFL. Very few percentage do that. Yeah. And they don't get taught life skills, and their education really stunts. If professional athletes, their education really stunts for the most part, 8th grade-ish, because at that point they know, especially in basketball, because these kids are recruited now, junior high, high school, to go play for these club and AAU teams, and they move their whole families to, Virginia, where these top teams are, in California. And they're not really learning. They know that this is the class of athletes that are going to go to college, be a one and done, and go out to the NBA, make millions of dollars.
Right.
So their education really gets stunted 7th or 8th grade, because in basketball you develop so young now. Right. And but yeah, we get off topic here. We're going back to real estate. Just some quick statistics on Tucson. And you're talking about, I know where you're alluding to, about low interest rates and what happened in 07, 08 for that crash. The only difference I see right now is inventory. Back then, you could drive to Marana, Oro Valley, and, Vail, Southeast Tucson. There were homes everywhere. You just sign up, they're building away. You put your $2,000 deposit down, come back in 4 months, and, close on a house.
Right.
Well, now we're under like 800 homes on the multiple listing service in that's for Southern Arizona.
Right.
A healthy market used to be 5,500, 6,000 homes. So when you're under 800 homes listed, and a healthy market is, what, 5-6 times that?
Right.
Maybe more. That's not the equilibrium.
Yeah.
I mean, there's real estate agents with tons of buyers with nothing to buy.
Right.
And a statistic I saw for last month this was for March. In March, the average selling price was 100.7% of list price.
Right.
So everything,
I saw that.
When you look at those numbers, it's above asking. So I'm trying to figure out, where are we in the stage of this real estate boom, because real estate has a 10, 13-year run, and then there's always a huge correction.
Right.
So we're past that, right? We're at year 14 right now. And I just went to lunch with a high volume, great real estate agent in town, and we had this conversation, and he thinks we're in the early stages. We were comparing it to like the Roaring 20s. You come out of a pandemic, with the Spanish flu, 1918, and then what happened in the 20s? The country just went gangbusters.
Roaring 20s, yeah.
Roaring 20s. So where are we in this? He thinks we're in the early stages, and I was a little bit older than him, So he wasn't old enough to really feel what '08 was, '07, where I was building homes. I had spec homes that were appraising for $740,000, $750,000, and I got out of them with writing checks, giving one back to a bank saying, hey, this thing appraised for 748, 9 months ago. Now I have it listed for 575, what I'm in it for, and you want it,
Yeah, we're in an artificial market because, like you said, we have this extreme low inventory due to, the virus, right? We got to be careful what we say, but the virus, where we have low inventory because people don't want to sell their homes because they don't want to have strangers coming in and tracking the virus. And I guess is the way it works. I don't know, no science behind that, but so. They don't want that, so there's extremely low inventory, like you said, super high demand because interest rates are really low, which is creating more of a demand. Also, too, I think, like you said, there's also another thing that's contributing to the prices and to the frenzy of the market is with the lockdowns and with people being limited to what they can do. Travel obviously is going to be down. People going to hotels and stuff like that's down. So you have people looking to spend more time at home. People are working from home a lot more now versus going to the office. They're actually working from home, so they want to have a nicer home because of that. Yeah. So you have a lot of upward mobility happening. You got a lot of people leaving California, right, for Arizona. But you have a mass exodus. If we want to talk about insert some politics into some business here, which I like to do, we all know, is you have mass exodus of these liberal states into the more conservative states because of the lockdown restrictions are a lot less. Most of the conservative governors, have gotten rid of the mandates for any lockdowns. Capacities are back open. Muzzle mandates are down or eliminated completely, like here in Arizona. And then you still have states like California, and so that's driving people out into states like this. And then you also have taxation, other political decisions that are being made. Defunding police isn't very popular with actual real people. Just so you know, defunding the police is not a popular thing with people. It may be, clickbait for certain news outlets on their websites, but it is really unpopular with people. Nobody really wants to defund the police except for criminals.
Yeah, I think it's like in a recent study, it was like 23% are in favor. And then as soon as those do get defunded, they're the first ones asking for, bring the funding back ASAP.
Yeah, right. As soon as something happens to them,
their family or something.
Why is no one coming from 911? Yeah. Exactly. So it's preposterous. Again, I don't really care what extreme ideology you could have about anything. I think there's going to be 20% of the people they're going to say they were good with it. I don't give a shit what it was. No. So you could say like, hey, what do you think of that everybody's got to dress like a clown every day and literally wear a clown suit everywhere they go and a big wig and the red nose? 20% of the people would say like, that's a great idea. Yeah. We just have, the reality is we have 20% morons among us. Okay. And that's the reality. There's 20%. I think
you're a little low there. But
maybe. Yeah, I'd be nice, right?
You're being nice.
20% of the people out there are just straight nuts. Yeah. And again, I don't want to I don't want to get all scientific on you, right? That they're just wacko, right? Yeah. So 20% of the people are neurotic lunatics that, whether it's a cultural dilemma we're having or whether it's some kind of a psychological neglect that we've had, the schooling. I mean, probably 5 or 6 different factors as to what's going on with the psychosis of
mental
American
health.
People. Yeah, again, the mental health is at an all-time high.
Yeah. I mean, it's, I know firsthand, and, mental health has been always pushed to the side, kind of an embarrassing subject. And now I think it's become more, not celebrated, but more open, and I think a lot of people have come to the, hopefully they've come to the realization that talking about mental health is not, it's from a stance of power. Everybody thought it was always coming out of weakness, but when you can have that discussion about mental health, I think, that vulnerability really opens you up to really to be strong, because it's not an easy subject to talk about, and you see athletes coming out about it, and that's, you know, football players and some of these commercials, and, you know, CEOs and, you know, people stepping down from prominent positions because they got to deal with, you know, their head. I mean, you know, you see these professional athletes coming out of professional football is probably the most prevalent, where they've had some you know, trauma to their brain, but I think it's more of not so much the TBI, it's more of what happens when you're the number one of anything, or in the top. I mean, let's face it, you're a professional athlete, you're in the top 2,000 in the United States of any sport, right? I mean, NBA is limited more, football, 55 players on a roster, 32 teams.
Yeah, about 2,000.
2,000 people.
About it, yeah.
You know, so when you're number one, you're one of 2,000, and then all of a sudden you hit 33 years old, and you're just, you know, the kids don't know you anymore. People, you know, the media frenzy's gone because you're not in the Sunday paper. You're not relevant. That's where I think a lot of these athletes and just business people, or, you know, or life changes your relevancy. Right. I think that's a subject that.
Yeah, we go down the mental health rabbit hole. I mean, I think there's, again, many factors playing into why we're having mental health issues in this country. I think a lot of it has to do with pharmaceuticals.
Oh yeah. Both these restrictions,
both legal and illegal, or legal and recently legalized. I think a lot of it has to do with some of the chemical cocktails that we're giving our children.
Definitely.
You know, we can't say the V word, obviously, because we'll get shadow banned. But you know, I think that we're giving our children some of these chemical cocktails. You know, and I'm not anti vax at all. I mean, I've, you know, got my measles and rubella, and, you know, all tetanus, and all the old ones have been proven. But, you know, you're gonna have me take something like that, a medication like that. It's gonna have to be proven over years and decades.
Oh, yeah. We don't know the repercussions.
There's got to be real science behind it. There's gonna have to be things. So yeah, we want to talk about. Before we go farther down the rabbit hole, let's at least finish up the building and the housing market.
Yeah.
I just want your opinion, and I think people too that are watching this want your opinion on the housing market. So should someone buy right now? Should they not buy? You know, should they wait and see, you know, what happens? What do you think about the housing market overall?
Well, you know, it's going to get to a point where if materials, not just lumber, if everything just keeps increasing, there's going to be a point where building's just not going to make much sense anymore, right? It's just going to be priced out. So, you know, about buying right now, I think if you find the right house that suits your needs, or if you find something that could suit your needs, it's probably a great time to buy. You just don't know. I mean, are they going to keep going up? No one has a crystal ball, you know, and I don't see it slowing down anytime soon. Interest rates, I mean, you know, a 2.5 30-year mortgage, 2.5% mortgage versus a 6% 30-year mortgage, huge difference,
sure.
Right? I mean, you're talking, you know, hundreds of dollars a month, up to a couple thousand, so your buying power is more. So is the government going to keep these rates for the next couple of years?
They're going to start raising them.
To.
Well, you know, we're kind of like in that you know, situation where it's kind of like, well, yeah, the economy is hot in certain industries, and yeah, a higher interest rate would help cool it off and help make it more reasonable, so there's not an artificial balloon
inflation,
created.
right?
Yeah.
Everyone doesn't want to talk about inflation.
Inflation, right? You know, and again, we're getting these artificial bubbles, which are always the first sign of actual inflation.
Yeah.
So, you know, before you start really seeing the inflation, you start seeing artificial bubbles popping up in fuel prices, food prices, housing prices, energy. So then the next thing you know, that obviously, as those industries are so huge, that's got to start translating everywhere else. It's got to start translating to actual food prices, you know, clothing prices. It's all going to start transferring. So you see these bubbles happening. So yeah, we're going to have massive inflation coming. The problem we have, it's very strange dynamic. We still have a lot of people unemployed. So we have a lot of people that are unemployed that are on government assistance.
They're artificially unemployed.
Yeah, because the government is subsidizing them. So basically people are saying, well, I can go to work and work 40 hours and make another $100 over than what the government's giving me right now. And that's why government subsidy of people, you know, who are capable of working is always a bad idea.
Yeah.
If you're capable of working physically,
you should be working.
You should be working.
And especially in construction.
Right.
I mean, we're finding, a shortage of skilled labor because, the guys are sitting at home. I think it's $900 a week. Is that
right?
Right. So they're making $50,000.
Yeah, between the state and the Fed. They're getting almost $1,000 a week.
Almost $1,000 a week, and that's going through, I believe, September, October. Right? They extended it again.
Yeah, September. I believe
so September. Mm-hmm. So you have guys that should be working, but they're making $900 a week, staying at home, and thinking, I'll make less money or make the same money if I go out and work.
Right.
And it's caused a crunch in, like you said, maybe my project took a little bit longer, and I'm hearing it's happening all over. I mean, I talk to guys who've been doing this 30, 40 years, and I call them up and say, gosh, are your jobs running longer? A month, 3 weeks, 2 weeks, and it's the same thing. It's the labor. It's this, everyone's stretched,
right.
And these contractors, these subcontractors, it's a cash flow. So they're going to take on as many jobs as possible, get those starts, get those deposits, and, show up 2-3 days, keep everybody happy that they're working for it, but they're not giving it, it's not, hey, I'm going to stay here for a week, knock it out, move on. It's, I'm going to take 4 jobs on. I'm going to give you guys, half a day, 3/4 of a day, then I'm going to move on to the next so I can keep that cash flow moving. I get it.
You can't blame them. Can't blame them for that. It's just maximizing, obviously, the opportunity as long as they, keep their word and they don't burn anybody.
Yeah.
You're just going to have to work some longer hours. But, hey, there's nothing wrong with that. You can make, people that are, some of these industries, obviously, not everybody going back to the people being unemployed. Not, again, you have 10% of the country that has really got, financially hurt by this. The other 90% of the country is made out.
Made out.
So a lot of industries are doing better than they were before. Again, there's 10% of the industries that are getting crushed, mainly hospitality.
Yeah. I came from hospitality. Yeah. I was in the restaurant business 8 years.
Right.
140, 150 employees, 2 restaurants. But I think the restaurants that adapted and made the changes and didn't, shut down. And, it's all about, business is about adapting.
Of course.
So, I look at my old restaurants and what they're doing. We were fortunate. We had a large patio that we created part of our liquor license. So we had this huge premise, and that benefited them greatly during this because now they had, 2 7,000 square foot restaurants. Now they had a 20,000 square foot patio plus where you can spread everybody out. And
plus outdoor dining was allowed before indoor dining. So yeah.
So they've crushed it.
Right.
They've crushed it. I've known other restaurants who've done better with the takeout model that we had in the early months of COVID because they had, 30% of the employees, just pumping out food. They kept a couple cooks on and a manager, and they just pumped food out, and it was all going out the door. No dining, no seating. So they were more profitable.
Matter of fact, even though everything's 100% back open in Arizona now, I know one of my favorite Chinese places I like to go to over here. They still just do nothing but takeout, and they have a takeout window set up. Yeah. And you just go to the window. They got their whole dining because their dining room wasn't really that big to begin with.
Yeah.
But I think they just realized how much more profitable they were just by doing straight takeout. So now even though they could open, they're not even opening. So they're sticking with that model long term, not even reopening the interior of the restaurant because they make more money by just doing the delivery out the window.
Well, it's
just car after car after car after car.
It's all labor. I mean, a restaurant, and we had 140, 150, depending on how many dishwashers quit that week. But it was just a big machine, big payroll. It was, and you're right. That is and I think 13% of this population in the United States is in the hospitality industry. It's a very important sector.
Sure.
We kind of overlook it a lot, but when you look at the numbers, I think it's like 13%.
Oh, especially when you look at local taxation and local tax revenue for
hotels,
cities and counties.
All those little bed taxes and room taxes, night taxes.
The tax revenue alone is going to kill these a lot of cities and a lot of these states by losing that hospitality tax revenue.
But look at Atlanta.
Yep.
Atlanta they're going to lose $100 million in profits or business. $100 million to these local businesses that were going to come in for the All-Star game.
Right.
And just there's a lot of that going on. I have friends in the, concert promotion business, and, they're thankful. They're excited. I see them starting to book shows now in June, July, August, and it's going to come back,
Right.
But it's a huge sector.
Yeah, and again, I think there's a lot of pent up demand. Obviously, again, we talked about the percentage of people that really this bothers. When 80% of us, this never bothered. Right?
Yeah.
Again, I never changed my life. Over it. I got COVID twice. Got the first time in February of 20, so I got it. One of the first to get it,
yeah.
And which I was glad because I got it out of the way. So I got it. It was a strong cold for a week.
Was it even called COVID back then?
Yeah, well, back then nobody knew that it was even here, right? We were hearing it was coming, and we're preparing for it. So it was being talked about. Nothing was shut down yet.
Yeah.
That wouldn't happen for another couple of weeks, but it had been here. It had been here for a while. The whole. This one guy brought it in through Seattle and bullshit. It had been here for months already. But nobody even knew because it just got a cold. Again, for 99.9% of everybody, it's just a cold. That's it. You wouldn't know if somebody hadn't told you. Infection. Yeah, somebody wouldn't have told you that it was something exotic or something new. You wouldn't have known. You would have chalked it up to another one of the 100 other colds you've gotten in your life, and you'd been like, oh yeah, it's a kind of little different feeling. Maybe I had a little bit more of my upper chest, and maybe I lost my taste for a little while. That was weird. But you wouldn't even have thought twice about it had it not been.
Well, think about it.
On the news.
When you get the flu, you don't eat, right? Your taste buds are suppressed. So you do lose your taste buds.
Well, because whenever you have a respiratory infection at all.
Yeah, you have that drip.
Yeah, you have the drip, you have the postnatal nasal drip, your sense of smell goes away, which then affects your sense of taste. That's all natural. And again, the upper, respiratory infection or inflammation, really. It's not really an infection, it's inflammation being caused by your own immune system, actually trying to fight the virus. That's, again, just all normal. Will happen with any virus, right? So any upper respiratory virus is going to cause those certain things. Yeah. Exactly. So, I never changed my lifestyle. I just kept going on. We kept doing our things. So we're big outdoor people anyway, so we just did outdoor stuff and never really missed a beat. Didn't go to restaurants for a couple of months, I think, and that was about it. I made a home gym. Stopped going to the gym when they were closed. Made a home gym and started going out. Now I still have my home gym. Another adaptation that's permanent. I built a really nice home gym, and now I don't go to the gym anymore. I just work out at home, first thing in the mornings.
Yeah, I am in your gym. Yeah, you got a good setup there.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. And I ordered a bunch more equipment this week too, because I'm really going to make it even nicer. So, again, few minor adaptations, but it really didn't change much. And then again, a lot of other people, same thing. And so again, when you have all this pent up demand, so when things come back online, when more concert venues start opening up and things like that happen, they'll be packed because there'll be a bunch of pent up demand for it. I know they're supposed to do I think it's October. They're going to do Country Thunder. Up here in in central Arizona again, and I'm sure that's going to be just as packed as it ever was. Probably more packed.
Probably more.
That more packed. So again, you have just again, vast majority of people don't want to deal with any of this, and we wouldn't have dealt with it had it not been forced on us. So I think vast majority of people was forced on. So I think those industries that are still lagging right now. If you were to simply take out all of the restrictions, stop the subsidization of this unemployment, all those industries would come roaring back. Like within a few weeks, all those people would go right back to work within a few weeks, and then we'd have probably the hottest economy we've ever had because the taxes are still the old guys' taxes. Yeah. They're still low. So you still have all that stuff in place. So you're still going to have a very business-friendly environment financially, and all this stuff's going to come roaring back. And again, like any good, I don't want to use the term, but whenever there's a issue with the market, and I coach this and I teach people this. I'm like, look, when things get tough, because the economy's cyclical, things come and things go. Industries get hot and they go cold and they come back hot again. And we're obviously in a hot housing market, but it wasn't that way for a long time. No. And it'll go cold again. We'll see what ends up happening with the actual foreclosures. Right now we're still in that moratorium. Excuse me. I always have trouble with that word.
When does the moratorium expire?
A federal judge just ruled, I think it was yesterday or the day before, that it's against the law. They can't do it. So he lifted it already. And it's probably going to go to the Supreme Court, but I think they're going to rule in favor of the landlords. I think they're going to rule that this forced, you can't evict people out of your own property that aren't paying you rent. Again, that goes against a lot of laws. And again, just saying that because of, something. And again, we look at the actual pandemic, that's been over for a long time. Yeah. Medically, scientifically, if you apply the definitions, this has been over for 7 months. Yeah,
there's the pandemic, and then there's the endemic.
Right.
And that's a real term, and we got to get to that endemic, as a whole, because you brought up real estate again, which is you can't expect a landlord who has to pay this mortgage so he doesn't lose his property to not charge his tenants rent or not collect the rents, and most, commercial is a little bit different, but in residential, everyone thinks, most residential landlords are people who own, 2 rentals, 1 rental, 5 rentals, 10 rentals. They're not necessarily rich. They got money, but they've worked hard. They've put down payments down. They have, they have to maintain these properties.
Right.
And when someone's not paying the rent, they're still required to pay the mortgage. So, and the eviction notice or moratorium does not include rental property. That's for, I believe only for your personal residence. So these people can lose their houses because their tenants aren't paying, their properties.
Right. Exactly. And again, it is extended to mortgages right now, right? So lenders can't foreclose either. But the problem is going to be there is that once they can, they're going to have a huge incentive to do it because of the housing market is so hot.
Yes.
Typically, a bank doesn't want to foreclose on a property because it's going to sit there vacant. It's going to rot. It's going to, homeless people are going to break in and, rob it blind or whatever. So it's banks always try to shun, they try to work with the lender, assuming the borrower to try to save it before they have to actually do a foreclosure. But with the housing market being so hot, I see the initial waves, the banks are going to love foreclosing because they'll be able to flip the properties for the cash like ASAP, right? And probably do it in blocks too to investors. Actually just sell, 10 houses at a time, 20 houses at a time. Exactly, to the super rich. And again, the super rich are going to get even richer. So I see that being the one thing I think that's going to get the housing market back in check, and then eventually might even cause problems, is because again of all the I think there's something like 5% of all mortgages are in default right now.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's huge.
I was just going to ask you, what is that number? I know it's
5%.
Is it 5?
5%.
I thought it would be a little higher, but it's 5.
Yeah. Well, when you think about the numbers, though, that's still millions and millions and millions of properties.
Yeah.
So when you flood the market back with those, but again, we'll see what the banks do if they get incentivized not to do it, started happening in 09 and 2010 with Obama's changes.
Who knows? They might, the government prints up another $1 trillion, wipes out the back payments or the missed payments, keeps people in their homes,
right,
and then starts, saying, hey, you got to stay current as of this date. Who knows? I mean, I've seen some, some scenarios thrown around.
They'll have to incentivize the lenders, right?
Yeah.
Because ultimately they're going to have to incentivize the lenders. If they don't incentivize the lenders will say, well, I've got no incentivization to not foreclose. I have a lot of incentive to foreclose. Yeah. Now they're going to make the business decision, right? I like to tell you that bankers, are people first. Bankers are not people first. Bankers and lenders are and even investors, right? They're money first, not people first.
Well, billionaires over millionaires, right?
Exactly, right? So we'll see. If the government doesn't subsidize, it doesn't incentivize the lenders, we're going to have a problem. We'll see, though. We'll see what happens. I think they will. They should. If they're going to do anything, they should do that. That might be something I would at least agree with. Giving billions out to foreign governments and to do gender studies, I probably have a problem with. But helping people stay in their houses, that's a worthy cause. But we got to get people back to work, and that's the biggest thing. Is like you would cure a lot of that by getting them back to work, then they start making their mortgage payments again.
How do you incentivize that? What's your solution, Cory?
Highly incentivize it. Well,
how do
you have to stop the subsidy. You have to stop right now. You have to make a big push to stop unemployment.
Do you think it would make sense for the government to incentivize people who actually go back to work and can prove they went back to work and say, look, you go back to work, we're going to keep subsidizing you for the next 30 days. We're going to give you, $5,000, whatever the last stimulus was. Right. We're going to give you that payment, but you have to prove that you are going back to work and staying at work.
Right.
In any government program, fraud runs rampant. So how do you really, the checks and balances, I went back to work
myself. That's a tough one. And again, you hate to see people get hurt, and you have to say, well, there's going to be a certain percentage of people that, couldn't get a job and, they don't have any skills and they don't have any knowledge and they couldn't. And so by taking that away, well, you know what? I hate to say it, but the world is not cushy. Right? It's not supposed to be.
No.
Right? And this is part of our problem. When we go back to some of the mental health issues that we're having in this country, we've been convinced as a population for some weird reason that life is supposed to be easy and you're just supposed to get free shit and you're just supposed to have no one's supposed to hurt your feelings. No one's supposed to rough you up. You're just supposed to cruise through it all nice and easy. Never have a crash. Someone's supposed to pick you up no matter what happens.
Oh, yeah.
You trip yourself, you do something stupid, and you fall. Like someone's supposed to be there to catch you, and if they don't, it's because the world's evil and this country's this and that. Yeah. And I don't know where that came from. I don't know if that came from media, from TV. I don't know if it came from mainstream
toxic masculinity, right?
And behind that is the whole like toxic masculinity thing, all right, which we talked about, and I think will be our final topic here. But we'll go into this toxic masculinity and what it really means and what's causing it. Again, and I think it's a cultural problem where we are having a lack of fathers in the home with a lot of young boys and girls too. I mean, the girls and their fathers too. We always look at the boys, but girls and their fathers too. And we're looking at an increase. And again, this is statistics. You can look it up. It's not opinion, conjecture. This is statistics. Over the last 3 decades, we have had an increased amount of single mothers and the fathers leaving the home because they're being the mothers are being incentivized to get the fathers out by the government, right? They're marrying the government. Well, the government's the worst father there is. We know that, right? So the government being the father of these children, which is what's occurring, is disastrous because now these kids are being taught, well, the government's supposed to, daddy, right? The government becomes, daddy becomes the government, or the government becomes the new daddy. Daddy's supposed to save me. Well, then the government's supposed to save me. Well, then this program is supposed to save me and this free money and then this, and that. And then you got people on mainstream media trying to, manipulate ratings and, just tell the people what they want to hear. Fuck. If I want to just tell people what they want to hear, okay, I could have millions more followers. I could have like a huge platform. I'll just get on here and get in front of these cameras and just tell you what the hell you want to hear all day long.
There's enough of that
and
going
make
on,
you
Cory.
feel fucking warm and fuzzy and that it's all easy and for you and, this is wrong. If I did that shit, again, all I'm doing is destroying people. I'm not helping them. No. Right. You can make someone feel warm and fuzzy inside as you destroy their lives, and that's what's happening, right?
Well, it's like what Ronald Reagan said, the worst, I think it's like 7 or 9 words you can hear. I'm from the federal government and I'm here to help you.
Right.
Ronald Reagan said this in the early 80s.
Yeah.
And,
because that's when it started being a problem. That's when the fathers started leaving the homes and it started becoming this reliance on government welfare and government programs to fill that void of the fathers. And instead of the government incentivizing marriage and fathers in the home, the government de-incentivized it and actually incentivized single mothers. So single mothers qualify for all these programs. Yeah. Single mothers qualify for all this free housing, free education, free medical, free this, free that. Well, shit, if half of your expenses are paid for because you're in this particular group, well, why wouldn't you want to get into the group? And so then you literally have people wanting to be part of that group, but they don't realize they're destroying their kids, right? No. So your laziness and your lack of willingness to be responsible for yourself is now going to destroy your kids' lives.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm first generation, you know, born in the United States. Both my parents, you know, immigrated from Greece, you know, and my mom always told us, life's hard. She said, I don't care what anyone tells you, life is hard, you know, and I mean, they struggled, they did well, they raised 4 great kids, you know, at least 3. I can speak for my siblings. Me, I'm still, you know, but, you know, all college educated, if that means anything, but back then it did. You know, it was college at the age of 4 or 5 years old was, you're going to college. You're going to college. You know, there was no questions asked. So, you know, we all went to college. My brother's a doctor. I got sisters with masters. And, you know, I went to college, graduated, and I'm the only one with just a basic college degree where everyone else has at least a master's, and,
right.
You know, my brother's a surgeon. But,
right.
you know, it was something they've always instilled. My dad was a painting contractor, worked his ass off. I mean, Illinois, he worked at a Johnson Motors at night, painted and did wallpaper with his uncle, and they had a business. I mean, they worked their asses off.
Right.
You know, and, you know, at a young age, my brother and I, 12, 13 years old, summers, weekends, what were we doing? We're painting, you know. But, you know, it was just something you did, and I'm glad we did it. You know, it's like, you know, I was having a little meetup with a friend today. He's like, you know, he says nothing happens for a reason. It happens to you, right?
Right.
And that's, and you know, you think about that, and you know, I was like, that makes more sense than it happens for a reason. No, it happens to you. You know, for better, worse. It's how you take it, right? And
right.
I wouldn't change my childhood. I wouldn't change my upbringing for anything,
right?
You know, because I see too many snowflakes and.
Right. Yeah, you know, you're well, you know, I don't even want to get into the whole generational thing, because then again, that's a whole nother subject. You know, just the bottom line is that when you start removing father figures out of kids' lives, you end up creating a lack of well-roundedness, to where, you know, the father figure, you know, in masculinity and what it represents, and femininity, they represent 2 different things. Remember the old book?
You need both.
Yes, men are from Mars and women are from Venus, right? And again, there's nothing wrong with Venus. There's nothing wrong with Mars, but they are 2 different planets, 2 different things, and they just, again, there's nothing wrong with being different, right? And again, that's kind of where. Weird about how that's got mixed up, that it's like celebrated to be different, but then you better not be different or else. So, you know, but you need both, right? So as a child, you need both the mother figure and the father figure.
You need to get it from somewhere, right? You need to get it from somewhere, and even, you know, in this day and age, there it comes again, third time's the charm.
I'm going down this time.
This is it, man.
This is it.
You're talking about it, it's taking you out. You know, but, you know, and I look at, you know, same-sex unions, marriages, and look, it's the day and age we're in, but the kids need to get it from somewhere, because, you know, and there's a lot of loving families, and, you know, I've come across several that, you know, a gay couple have children, and they do a great job. You know, same-sex marriages can be very, you know, they're loving. I mean, we're in 2021. You know, I think people who look down on those marriages these days, you know, we have to adapt. We have to change. You know, there's nothing wrong with having these. You know, it's a beautiful thing. Love is love, right? And God, you know, it goes back to what I always say: God is love, and love is love.
And I don't want to imply for a minute that single moms can't get the job done.
Yeah.
Okay, and I want to apply for a minute that, again, you know, certain gay, you know, parents can't get the job done either. It comes down to roles and training of the child, right? So it comes down to, okay, if there is no traditional father in the home, well, that influence still needs to be in the home. For me, I mean, I came from a broken family. My father, biological father, was a drunk and abusive, and, you know, luckily, my parents got divorced when I was like 10 or 11 years old, or 12, I think. So I didn't have to spend too much more time in that nightmare. But, and then my mother remarried, and my stepfather was a great guy, and, you know, I had a lot of respect for him because he loved my mother so much, you know. And he had some strong opinions, and he was a very masculine guy, and so I saw that masculinity there. But not a lot of influence concerning, like, self-sufficiency, and risk taking and all that kind of thing. Now, my grandfather filled that role for me because my grandfather grew up in the Depression, fought in World War II. You know, you know, come through some rough times. Dropped out of the third grade to take care of his family. You know, and go to work. Right, that whole scenario. So.
That wasn't too far long ago. I mean,
no, it wasn't. And, you know, and he started, and again, he went to the military when he went and joined the army when World War II broke out, and actually became an electrician in the military. And when he got out, he became an electrician, continued his electrician business or work, and then started his own business. Became an electrical contractor himself up in Salt Lake City, Utah. And became very successful with it. Not hugely, but for where he came from, where he started, no education. I mean, hugely successful. You know, became a millionaire, not a multimillionaire, became a millionaire. You know, and you know, so I had that influence, which really for me was like, okay, you got to take some risks. You got to not be afraid of shit. You got to get out there. You got to, like, you know, make your way. Don't rely on anybody. You know, and my grandfather was a real big person on don't rely on anybody, right, including him. You know, they had money, and for my family, nobody in my family had money. My grandparents did. You know, when I think about the money they had now, I'm like, well, okay, you know, I got that in a couple savings accounts. But for my family at the time, like, that was a tremendous amount of money. So they, of course, when we would come around, they needed money, right? And my grandparents were very strict and very stern about, we don't give money to anybody, and they didn't help anybody. You know, they said, look, you know, you need. So when I say they didn't help, you need food. Come here, we'll feed you, right? You need some place to sleep for the night, we'll come here, but you're out the next day, you know? So that was the help they gave. They'd always feed you. You could always show up at my grandparents' house and get a hot meal. But that was the end of the help. After that, there was no help, okay? But that taught me that self-reliance, that, you know, no one's coming to save your ass. Yeah. So you better get out there in the world. And, you know, again, I listened to my grandfather talk about, you know, the stories and about, you know, again, when he was a kid and what he had to do to survive, and what he had to, you know, do in the military and war to survive, you know, and what he had to do once he got out to survive, because there was nobody coming to save you then. And people died by the millions.
That was real.
It was real. And so really, you know, you look at that generation, which I still consider to this day the greatest generation, right? And then just don't admit to anything that you did wrong, you know, or, you know, the simple shit like speeding. I mean, come on. Yeah, of course. Oh, yeah, I was probably going too fast, officer. Yeah, you get out of more tickets that way, just being honest, right?
No, sir. Yeah. Thank you. Yes, officer. I think that has, to this day, gotten less tickets. I've been pulled over probably 20 times in my life, probably gotten 5 tickets. Right. And I think it has everything to do with just saying, yes, sir. No, sir. Thank you. Yes, officer. Yep. Those 4 or 5 phrases, I think will, you know, they're humans. You know, they're not animals. You know, treat people how you want to be treated and how you want to be talked to, and it'll carry its weight. I mean, I remember,
and that comes from just to touch on that, you know, and this respect for police and this respect for you know, for authority when it comes to police and the legal system, that comes from the masculinity that we're talking about. And again, this does not necessarily have to be a male. Yeah. This masculinity can come from anywhere. It is you have to be responsible for yourself, including how you handle yourself in public, how you handle yourself in the decency. Yeah. You have to be decent. You have to be a law-abiding citizen. So again, that masculine, that's the responsibility thing, right? Which normally comes from the masculine role. Normally comes from the father figure, the responsibility. You know, mom is love and comfort, and, you know, kissing your boo-boos and, you know, cleaning.
But some moms are tough.
But, and again, and that's fine. Again, and I love that, you know, if moms are tough, whoever teaches the child that, great. And again, and it should come from both parents, right? I mean, I'm not saying at all that the moms should just be all just, you know, kisses and love, but traditional roles, when you talk about what the child needs, the child does need love and some comfort, but the child also needs to learn responsibility, needs to learn that you are going to be decent. You're going to be a good human being. You're going to go out there, you're going to respect others, and you'll get respect in return for that and conduct yourself properly. Right. And then the mother's going to help, you know, with your, you know, girlfriend broken up and whatever. Dad's going to tell you there's more fish in the sea, and mom will, you know, give you some. And again, whoever fills these roles is great, you know. And if one person fills both roles, great. I mean, again, not every single mom has to be a single mom. You know, there's some asshole, you know, men out there, the women pregnant and take off. You know, so she didn't ask to be a single mom. Not everyone did. I'm not implying that at all. But she's got to fill that role, though. If she doesn't, if it's just all, you know, let me save you every time, well, then you're going to end up with these out of control kids that are going to not be responsible for themselves. They're going to go out there running amok. They're going to do bad shit, not want to be responsible for it. Going to fight the police, going to get killed, you know, and it's a shame. It doesn't have to be that way. So we need more masculinity. We don't need less. And again, I don't care who wants to be masculine, right? You got the gay couple. Okay. One guy's got to be the masculine guy. The other guy can be the other role. Yeah. The roles have to be there, right? And if they are, again, we get balance. We get that balance. Nature loves the balance, right?
And can we replace masculinity with authoritarian? You know, but there has to be, you know, like you said, someone has to play that role in any relationship. You have to get those, you know, these are just basic, you know, functions of human interaction. Yeah.
Well, again, psychologically, children need authority. We know this. We know children need authority. We know they need to respect authority. The first authority, of course, is their parents. They have to respect the parents. They have to abide by the parents, right?
You see a lot of shit kids out there. Yeah. And you know, if those kids are talking to their parents, right, or, you know, disrespecting their parents, and I'm not saying all kids, including myself, were angels, you know, but, you know, there was a line. But now you see it more frequent, right, where there is no separation because parents have wanted to become more of a friend than a parent. And once you cross that line of being a friend than a parent, right, you're lost it all. And and I've heard that from, you know, therapists and, you know, couple therapy that my wife and I have gone to be better parents. But you can't be a friend and a parent at the same time. There has to be a strict line where you call it and say, now I'm your parent still. Yeah. And you have to have that line set for them.
At least until they're 18. You know, not after 18, you can be their best friend. Right? Because now they should know everything they're supposed to know. Now you can be best friends. Yeah. Before that, you got to be the parent, and they got to be the child, right? And you can't cross that line from the respect standpoint. Yes. You know, and also too that the parent knows better than the child. So you know, it's just an interesting dynamic that's going on in our country, you know, right now, and I think the media has a lot to do with that too. Just again, guilting these parents, and I think vast majority of parents know what the right way to do it is, but they get guilted by the media. They get guilted by, you know, a lot of the activism that they should be easier on their kids. You know, and the guilt pulls into it. You know, single moms like, oh, well, you know, my child doesn't have a father, so I got to be extra loving and I got to be extra easy on them because they're missing this piece or whatever. You know, that movie played out in my own family with my sister actually getting killed in a car accident and then her kids being left motherless early, you know, 6, I think 5 and 7 years old, something like that. Yeah. And their dad's a great guy, you know, and he did his best, you know, but that was a big piece that was missing out of their lives. And, you know, I'm happy to report at this point, they're getting their lives together and they got, you know, they're great people and they're trying to atone, but they went through some rough patches, you know, and not having that piece of the puzzle. Yeah. So again, it goes both ways, not just the masculine role, but also the
roles
too.
It's the roles. The roles have to be there.
Both the roles have to be there, you know, and my brother-in-law, great guy again, but again, he felt guilt about it and he felt, you know, again, I got to go easier on my kids because they don't have a mom, you know. So you have that dynamic too playing out. And, you know, so again, it's just, we just have to stop, I think, as a society, just stop villainizing masculinity though. Stop villainizing responsibility. Stop villainizing accountability. I think we have a big accountability problem in this country. We have been told that you shouldn't be accountable. Except for anything your ancestors did. You got to be accountable for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you didn't. You're unaccountable. You're unaccountable. You got all kinds of excuses. But your ancestors 400 years ago, you know, you got to pay for them. It's accountability. You know, it comes back to a straight accountability.
It's you know, accountability. You know, professional people, right? You know, we track our accountability, right? We track it with our business growth. And you got to use that same philosophy on your family.
Right.
You know, I got a daughter in dance. I love her to death. I got twin girls, you know, and one gets it a little bit easier than the other. And the other one, she's got to work harder. It's going to take her a little bit longer, but she always gets there. And I tell her, I said, look, you know, this is something you don't have to do. So if you don't like it, you know, we'll find something else for you.
Right.
But, you know, she loves the work. She puts in the work, and she's accountable to herself. And I think she wants to be there. She knows it's going to take her a little bit longer. And my wife's, you know, I'm probably a little harsher. I'm probably lucky I don't have boys right now.
Right.
But, you know, I look at her and then my wife sent me a video of her doing some dance move that I can't even pronounce or even know what it's called. But she nailed it where my other daughter nailed it, say, a month ago, 2 months ago.
Right.
But, you know, as we grow in life, you know, it's not a race. We're all going to be at different levels. I mean, you look at some of the most successful people on earth, you know, Kentucky Fried Chicken, the Colonel. He wasn't rich until he was like 60, 70 years old. Right. You know, a lot of, you know, companies are formed with guys in their 40s and 50s that we think they've been here because they've been here our whole lives, but they didn't really get started till they were 40, 45 years old. Right. Exactly. So, you know, and I looked at her and I saw her face when she completed that move because she's been working hard at it. But it was just, you know, and then this morning I said, hey, Evie, I saw this video of you. I saw this girl doing some move. You know, she smiled up, she lit right up, and I said, look, you made a commitment to work hard to get there. Right. Your sister got there maybe a month and a half ago, but, you know, she put in the work. She didn't quit. And to me, I think it's more of a, you know, for her, I think it's more cherished than the one who's just, you know, you show her a move and a week later she's got it nailed down. I think Evie, who has to work a little bit harder, appreciates it more and gets more joy out of it because of the, you know, the extra effort she had to put in. And, and I don't think we're not putting in the effort right now, you know. Right. I mean, you work hard, I work long hours, putting it in because I know that it's not always going to be here. You know, it could go, like you said, it could cool down, you know, some government regulations kicks in and mortgage rates are at 10%. No one's buying anything. No one's renting. You know, no one's even improving their own home that they're stuck in. Right. So, you know, we have to take advantage of these times to our business.
Yeah, you always want to make the most of every cycle.
Yes.
You know, you never want to take it easy. I try to teach people that all the time. Like, look, during a big cycle, you want to maximize everything because you got to take serious advantage of it, including your skill set. You got to get your skill set even better when it's good, not when it's bad. It's really tough to improve when it's bad. It's way easier to improve when it's good.
Yeah, the repetition's not there.
That's when you should do it. Exactly. Yeah. Because, well, the pressure's not there either, right? So if I want to learn something, but there's nobody like saying, well, this is life and death if you don't learn it, right? But I want to learn it, so I learn it when it's not life and death, so that when it does come for that skill to save me in a life and death situation, I got that skill. If I wait till it's life and death, right?
And you're working on it.
And you're trying to figure it out, well, the shit's a little too late. Yeah. So work on your skill set when things are good. That way you get better while things are good. You make more money while other things are good. And then when things go bad or when this other cycle goes down, then obviously you're prepared for it because your skill set's higher. That's always the way to ride it. Anyway, you know, we got to wrap this up because I know we're over an hour right now, an hour and 10 minutes. People are probably wearing out the audience right now. But great conversation, you know, a little business, little life, little politics, little this, little that, which, you know, I know a lot of people liked the mix. And again, humanizing business owners too. You know, one of the things I want to do with the platform is humanize, you know, the business owners. So again, we could come in and we could just talk X and O's about business for an hour and bore everybody to sleep and, you know, and it not be relevant, but getting to see personality, getting to see the passion, getting to see, you know, some of the motivating factors, you know, some of the mindset that goes into the why of doing business and the why of being successful. And, you know, it goes back to family, it goes back to community, it goes back to responsibility, it goes back to wanting to fulfill that role yourself of being that role model for others to say, look, you know, you may not have a lot of people that you can look up to give you the guidance for this type of stuff to where you can be successful in life. So here you go, right? Which is why I love having guys like you on, people like you on the show, because you get that mix of, this is really the whole ball of wax, if you will, about a business guy, what motivates him, what drives him, what he's worried about, what he want, what he's trying to accomplish, what are still the pitfalls, what are still the things that he's working on. So great. And I think we touched on a lot of that stuff today, as well as some current topics. So appreciate it, man. Great to have you, Steve. Everybody follow him now. To follow your building company, and to follow, what's the name of the building company again?
Axios Builders.
Axios Builders, and you're on Instagram?
AxiosBuilders.com, Instagram,
Awesome. So it's on Instagram, Axios. How do you spell that? Some people won't know.
AXIOS Builders.
Awesome. You're looking for remodeling. You're looking for construction, new construction. You're looking to do add an RV garage to your house, like I am, and he's supposed to be doing for me. He's your guy. So hit him up. All of the links will be wherever you find this video, to links to his social media, as well as his company's website will be there as well. If you like the show, please like and subscribe. Hit the notification button. We've got new shows coming out all the time. You don't want to miss one. Obviously, help to bring a ton of value with you, to you rather. So hit the notification so you get notified of the new shows as they come on, because we're really going to start cranking them out now. They're going to be weekly, every week, new shows, new podcasts, new shows, all of it. So it's been great to have you, and we'd like to have you back sometime and check on you. Maybe another year from now, we'll have you back and see how the housing market's going. We'll know by then, right?
We'll know by then. We will definitely know.
All right. Thanks so much. All right, guys. See you guys on the next one.